Good evening, and welcome to the 2014 State of the City Address. My name is Natia McLeod, and I'm a senior at Huguenot High School. I am honored to stand before you as Richmond's Youth Mayor, representing the Mayor's Youth Academy Future Leaders Council. At this time, I ask that you join me in welcoming Mr. Peter Bernard, CEO of Bon Secours.
Well, good evening, and thank you very much for allowing me to be your guest tonight. It's a real honor and privilege as we continue to work closely with the city along a number of what we think are kind of groundbreaking activities. We're grateful for the relationship that we've built over the past years and bringing certain change in particular to our energies and efforts as it pertains to the East End. We're thrilled to be involved with something that really struck the city with a lot more sizzle than we anticipated in 2013, and that was the opening and the success of the Bon Secours Washington Redskins training camp. We are not taking any responsibility for their one-loss record, though, this year. With that, all corners of the metropolitan area and across Virginia and nationally were able to experience that type of public relations, and the Redskins report to us on a routine basis that they had record attendance, and the camp is just run beautifully, and the city, I think, can be very proud of the fact that we have a really strong public-private relationship between our ministry that goes back to 1824 and the city leadership. So, Mayor, I think your foresight and the planning of the center was remarkable, and it's evident that we saw a $10.5 million economic impact for the community. So congratulations to you and your team, and it's been just a real pleasure. I think there's a lot of other benefits, and it can't be just limited to the training camp. We continue to be passionate about our development of the West Hampton High School, and there'll be some announcements in that regard, but we're going to turn the school back into a school, and we're going to be moving from Parham Road to Patterson with the Bon Secours School of Nursing, and that has about 450 or 500 students, so it'll be neat to watch them walk up and down Libby and Patterson in their uniforms as they're getting their clinical training, if you will, at St. Mary's and some of the other organizations in town. But also we're moving our imaging school there as well. And it's our effort to not tear down any of those buildings, but to enhance them. And if you've looked, just because of the weather, we have been making some improvements and modifications as we speak. I understand that there was 868 broken windows. We've fixed all the windows, and we're doing a number of other things with donations to Habitat for Humanity on the East End, and a lot of value-added activities that we feel are part of our organization and likeness and image of the legacy of the Sisters of Bon Secours. With that, we continue to be thankful for not only the City of Richmond, but the Richmond Economic Development Authority and their assistance to help us build a healthier community, and in particular what we're doing on the East End. The partnership continues to mature and develop as we're engaging various stakeholders along 9 Mile Road, and I think you'll see some enhancements that we're preparing for. We're very passionate about women's health, childhood obesity, what we're doing in terms of our wellness. We are adding additional primary care physicians such as family practitioners and internal medicine doctors, and also an improvement in terms of the multi-specialties there along with imaging. So we're thrilled to be able to not only do that, but this last 3 years we provided almost a couple $100,000 in grants to entrepreneurs on the East End. It's a program that we call Supporting East End Entrepreneurial Development, or what we call the SEED program. And with that, and we just, again, I think, Cynthia, thank you for your support, but she convinced my leadership team and myself that that 3-year program is not going to sunset, but we're adding 50% increase with regards to our grant approval, and we're extending it another 2 years, and that's due to your leadership. So as of today, there's 14 new and existing businesses that are flourishing. I know that the restaurant's doing very well. I took my board chair there along with a couple of my other leadership team, and it was on a Monday night, and it was standing room only, so I thought that was pretty impressive. And I was convinced to go to one of the bakeries and buy a bunch of stuff that I really don't need calorie-wise post-holidays. But with that, again, job creation, and things that we're doing with housing. And I think we're very, very excited about revitalizing not only the activity along 9 Mile Road, but we're starting also to get close to solving for what they refer to as the food desert. So in that vein, we are proud to announce that we're going to and have committed to hosting an East End Economic Summit. And that's going to be an event that's going to be held on June 13th, just less than 6 months from now. And we're going to share with you more explicitly additional commitments in which our ministry is committed to the revitalization of the East End. So, Mayor, again, thank you very much for your support and thoughtfulness of collaboration in this public-private partnership that we have. And I'm really excited about the future and the continued commitment that our two organizations have. With that, it was a real honor and privilege to be with you and share a couple of accomplishments, but also what our vision is for the future. So God bless, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard, and thanks for Bon Secours' continued partnership with the city. As a representative of Richmond's youth, I would like to thank Mayor Jones for his vision and continued investment in Richmond's youth, as this year marks the 5th anniversary of the Mayor's Youth Academy programs. I'm excited to hear more about what is in store for us this coming year. Before we hear from our Honorable Mayor, Dwight C. Jones, please enjoy this short video presentation highlighting accomplishments of his administration over the past year.
Momentum, drive, purpose, dedication, a bold vision. RVA is standing tall and the world is noticing. The Jones administration has a bold vision for the future and eyes on the big picture.
There is a vibe in the city of Richmond that we're on the cusp of great things. The city is growing, the city is abuzz, it's alive. Our best days are in front of us and not behind us. And we recognize the need to keep this going.
Businesses are opening, the restaurant scene is exploding, and downtown is cool again.
We envision this city, as many of our partners envision this city, as being an entertainment hub, a growing restaurant scene, a center of productivity, and a good place for people to live, work, and play.
Construction cranes dot the skyline, and underused properties are seeing new life.
I also want to just give you a few numbers here. 812 construction jobs, over 1,600 permanent jobs when the building is completely leased up, 40% minority participation, cumulative tax revenues of $117 million over the next 30 years. So to me, it's a win-win situation. It makes an awful lot of sense.
The Bon Secours Washington Redskins training camp was completed, and the 3 weeks of camp were a huge success, on and off the field. And even after training camp was over, the excitement continued as our youth took the field.
We're proud to present to you today the Bon Secours Washington Redskins Training Center. It is done, and we're so happy. This has all been directed toward our goal of stimulating tourism, job creation, and new investment, particularly in underserved areas.
The Atlantic 10 Women's Basketball Championship is coming to Richmond, and Richmond 2015 is right around the corner.
Welcome to the RVA. We're very happy to be able to make this announcement today, and we look forward to welcoming your teams. We look forward to welcoming your coaches and your fan base to the RVA, and we know that you're going to have a wonderful time in the new Richmond, Virginia.
So this is one of those events where it requires that you have vision, that you're able to see beyond today and able to see the promise of tomorrow. And so all of those persons who have signed on are people who see the great future that our city and the region has. Our economic impact study suggests our state and region will generate nearly $160 million in economic impact. That's a pretty good return on our investment.
RVA is in the fast lane, and the Jones administration wants to make sure that everyone's got a chance to ride.
We have about $20 million in HUD 108 funds that we would like to provide for gap financing. And I think that this is important because it says that we're in partnership, that we recognize that government cannot do this all by itself, and we recognize that we need public-private partnerships in order to build a robust and energetic city of Richmond.
My administration has spent more than $39.4 million with minority and emerging small businesses. It was gratifying to me because we have set as a goal that we would make sure that as we climbed, as we grew, we would lift at the same time, that we would make sure that individuals who had not been included before will be included now.
RVA, the world is taking notice, and your hometown is in the global spotlight. And while the Jones administration is looking at the big picture, don't think that doesn't include the picture from your window. During 2013, Fire Station 13, the East End Library, and Bellmead Community Center were renovated, and the Richmond Animal Care and Control Shelter is under renovation. There have been major upgrades at the Juvenile Justice Detention Center, the Water Treatment Plant, and the Bird Park Reservoir. And the new state-of-the-art Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School just opened and is the third school to open within the last 13 months.
This is a red letter day in the city of Richmond as we prepare our young people for a brighter future, and our job is to prepare an environment in which they can learn.
RVA's streets have also seen upgrades with the paving of 129 lane miles. Almost 13,000 potholes were filled and 145 new streetlights were installed. Bike racks and bike sharrows continue to be installed across the city. There were also 31 intersections in downtown that had pedestrian countdown signals installed, and over 2,300 trees were planted across the city. Public safety has also had major investment with the naming of a new police chief, 23 new officers graduating, new police vehicles hitting the streets, and 17 new firefighters graduating. And with this, Richmond has seen another year of record low crime numbers.
Reflective of our efforts to ensure that our public safety officers have the right support and equipment, we're providing these cars for the officers today. It has been a pleasure during this administration to be involved in upgrading the facilities of our firefighters and making our community safer. We're buying new fire trucks. We're renovating a new fire station approximately every year.
But while Richmond is experiencing an economic boom, many of her residents are missing out on this renaissance and are stuck in poverty. The Jones administration is laser-focused on reducing these numbers and improving the lives of all of Richmond's residents.
Sometimes I hate to have to mention this, but it's extremely important that we recognize that while all of these wonderful things are happening, we still have a city where a quarter of the residents here live in poverty, and we have to address that.
And so I want you to know that the Anti-Poverty Commission report has not been sitting on a shelf, but we're ready to focus on some solutions. An implementation plan has been devised to move forward with the pursuit of each of the 5 major recommendations. Those 5 areas are workforce development, economic development, transportation, education, and redeveloping public housing without displacement.
The mayor also has made job readiness and training a top priority.
The number one recommendation of our poverty task force was this workforce innovation notion, and we are able to stand where we stood a couple of months ago as we began this work, and now it is completed, and we're here today to cut the ribbon for a state-of-the-art training facility, the City of Richmond Center for Workforce Innovation. This is a great day, isn't it?
And as everyone knows, education is the key that unlocks all doors. And with the new middle school open, libraries being renovated, and the Mayor's Youth Academy supporting the next generation, there is no limit to the potential of our youth.
Educating our children is a clear priority for the City of Richmond. We have to make sure that every one of our young people has an equal chance to have success in the world.
You are the key to the city's future, and it is my hope that you will continue your training, your education, go off to school, and I'm hoping that many of you will come back to the City of Richmond.
And now, as the Jones administration continues to keep an eye on the horizon, an undeniable opportunity to revitalize and reinvent part of this great city is upon us. The Revitalize RVA plan is the key to continuing the economic development momentum that has engulfed RVA. It will bring life, history, and needed amenities to an often overlooked Shockoe Bottom, and it will open up underused property on the boulevard for massive redevelopment, with tax revenue and job opportunities that our city and residents desperately need.
By developing Shockoe in an innovative and historically sensitive way, we'll be able to unlock two of the most valuable pieces of land on the East Coast, generate nearly $200 million in new net tax revenue. Now, what you need to hear is that this money can be used for public schools. This money can be used for transportation. This money can be used for public safety. And this money can be used to continue to make Richmond a Tier 1 city.
And as Richmond's star rises, we must not forget that volunteerism has always been the engine that drives this capital city. Citizens and residents and organizations just like you stepping up and leading RVA forward.
And we want to encourage you to reach out of yourself and do something for someone other than your family. And so today, I want you to think about what you can do to help keep that momentum going all year long. Think about reading to a child, helping a neighbor, thinking about giving blood, donating food, thank a police officer or a firefighter. The options are limitless.
We've always said that Richmond was a city on the move, but the momentum is building and Richmond is a train that just can't be stopped. Hop aboard, experience the Renaissance, and look through the lens at a bold new Richmond. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2013 Richmonder of the Year, Mayor Dwight C. Jones.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and I'm so glad that you're here, and I want to just take a moment to let you know that I'm glad you're here because I want you to know that the world now sees something that we've known for a long, long time. The world now sees that Richmond is coming into its own, and the world now says that while you weren't looking, Richmond got cool. And you don't have to take my word for it. These are the words of the world's leading travel guide. They're marketing the whole planet, and this year, for the first time, listen to what they're saying. They're saying, go to the chilly coast of Scotland, go to the Pacific Isles of Bali, go to the bustling centers of India, go to the sexy streets of Rio de Janeiro, and for the first time, they're saying to 7 billion people who can choose to go anywhere, go to Richmond, Virginia. But what they're saying is something we already knew, and that is that Richmond is a cool place to live, work, and play. And so this evening, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that for the first time ever, the state of the city of Richmond is global and is looking to the future. And I'm so glad that all of you are here tonight, and I want to take just a moment to recognize the presence of all of the persons who are here. I want to recognize the members of Richmond City Council who are here, and I'm going to ask them to stand, and would you hold your applause until all of them have stood so that we can recognize them. Charles Samuels, who's the president of City Council, Ellen Robertson, Parker Angelesto, Kathy Graziano, Chris Hilbert, Michelle Mosby, and Dr. Cynthia Newbill. Won't you give them a round of applause? I also want to recognize the members of the school board who are present here tonight, the chairman, Donald Coleman, and Kristen Larson, Jeff Bourne, Kim Gray, Shonda Harris Muhammad, and Glenn Sturdivant, and the new superintendent, Dr. Dana Bedden. Let's give them a round of applause as well. I also want to welcome Congressman Bobby Scott, who is with us. He's everywhere, and he's here tonight. And help me recognize our youth mayor from the Mayor's Youth Academy. She did a good job, didn't she? Let's thank her. And I want to recognize the fact that while this is my night to give my State of the City speech, that all that I accomplish is because I have a wonderful group of people that surround me, and I'd like for them to stand, and if you'd hold your applause until they're all standing, I'd appreciate it. Byron Marshall and Chris Beschler, Peter Chapman, Cheryl Ivy Green, Steve Harms, Tammy Hawley, David Hicks, Don Mark, Sharon Judkins, and Grant Neely. This is a wonderful team, and I thank them so much for their service. And particularly tonight, I want to thank Tammy Hawley and the press secretary staff, Mike Wallace, Shelby Duncan, and J.L. Alexander. They have done a tremendous job of pulling this night together. Thank you so much. And I'm glad tonight to have my friend Peter Bernard. I was in the back and I listened to him as he spoke. He is here tonight. And Bon Secours has shown strong commitment to the Richmond community, Peter, and we're delighted to have you with us tonight. Your presence here reminds us that when we met over a year ago, we were in a different place as a city, but we were facing many of the same issues that we face tonight. And 1 year ago, we had just decided together to bring the Washington Redskins to Richmond, and we made the right decision. It was necessary to face down the doubters. It was necessary to answer a lot of questions, questions like, why can't we just wait? Why do we have to act now? Can't we do something else instead of this? How can you ask taxpayers to pay for this when we need schools and when people are living in poverty and there are other needs? And you know, these are important questions, and we're hearing them again today. And as we wrestle with these questions, it's important to remember that we produced results. Together with Bon Secours, we forged an 8-year partnership with the Redskins, and after just 1 year, we've already realized $10.5 million in economic impact. And we did so with no ultimate cost to the taxpayer. And the $10 million that we loaned to the EDA to build the facility is all coming back to the city through sponsorships and tenant rents and facility rentals. We already have $6.5 million in signed leases and naming rights agreements, and we are negotiating another $3 million in leases for the second floor. That's over $9 million of the $10 million we advanced to the EDA, and we're working with the EDA to develop other revenue sources to get us first to break even and then to make a profit. By nearly every measure, this plan has not only yielded what we said it would, but it has exceeded all of our expectations. So thank you so much, Peter and Bon Secours. The plan was to identify pieces of land that weren't generating tax revenue so that they could generate new money for the city. And that's exactly what's happening. The plan generated $40 million in new private investment for the city. 16 million of that is in the East End and in Center City. The project is bringing in more than $400,000 in new taxes every year, and it's generating new jobs and new health services. In the West End, Bon Secours School of Nursing is moving into Old West Hampton School, as he said to you, and the site will go from producing no revenue for the city to generating new revenue for the city. It's going to bring jobs that had been outside of Richmond, and it's going to bring jobs into the city of Richmond. And that's why I'm so glad that we stuck with this and worked with City Council to gain their support so that this plan could be solidified. This is great for our city tax coffers, great for our city's public spaces and amenities, and great for exposure, and everybody can well say that it is great for Richmond's brand because people all over the nation know about us because of what we did together for the Washington Redskins. Our city is both the legal and financial center of the region. We are the home of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit, as well as the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, one of 12 in the United States of America. We are a transportation crossroads for the eastern part of the country. We're strategically located within a day's drive of approximately 60% of the United States population. We are a leading city in everything from the top 10 big cities to the best city to live and work, to the city that is most creative, to the city that is the best outdoor city, the best city for jobs. It's the healthiest city for women. It's the happiest city for young professionals. And finally, we are the most vegan-friendly city. We are a lot of things. Time and time again, we get recognized, and oftentimes we're at the top of the list. But here's why I know just how amazing we really are. We've achieved all of this and gained this recognition in the midst of an economic downturn, while facing decreasing revenues and increasing expenses. Even while we had budget gaps and shortfalls, we have still been able to prevail. Today, Richmond can be judged by results because today, Richmond is delivering. Accomplishments like the Redskins Park, accomplishments like 4 brand new schools, accomplishments like a new jail, 6 renovated libraries, renovation of the landmark theater, accomplishments like 6 upgrades to the city's bond rating, and the tremendous work of our Anti-Poverty Commission, not to mention the fact that the World Cycling Championships are coming to Richmond next year and the related economic boost that that's going to have, not just on Richmond, but to the entire region. And in everything we do so following our core principles. Principles that say this: number 1, we will be competitive. Number 2, we will get a tangible return on any investment that we make. And finally, we will expand our opportunities for inclusion so that our citizens have a meaningful chance to share in the promise, but also to share in the challenges of our wonderful city. And in a few short weeks, I'm going to introduce the budget, and you'll see the progress that we have made on our balanced scorecard. But today, that's enough about where we've been. I want to talk a little bit about where we are going and where we need to go. So let's start with the condition of our schools, and it's so nice to see members of our school board here tonight. When we opened this beautiful new school 3 weeks ago, we acknowledged that while beautiful environments inspire hope and neighborhood pride, what really matters is one thing, and that is learning. For far too long in Richmond, we have accepted mediocrity. Those days are over. Our school board is changing the status quo. They're exploring innovative ideas that have worked in other places like Teach for America. They brought in energetic new leadership, and I look forward to building a strong relationship with the new superintendent. And I was pleased to hear him affirm that Richmond Public Schools won't be just an employment agency. We're all looking for him and the school board to do their part in improving our public education system, and the city administration pledges that we will do our part. It is our responsibility to provide the best physical environment that we possibly can to generate positive incomes. We each have primary responsibilities, but schools, the community, and my office must all come together to improve educational outcomes for our young people in the city. We've partnered with the business community on an initiative to improve our middle schools, and all of the things that we are doing, things to combat poverty, to expand the tax base, to create jobs and generate opportunity, all of these things are with an eye toward the bigger picture that will help us as a city get the outcomes that we want to see on many fronts. Simply stated, what all of us want is a better Richmond. What all of us want is the best Richmond for all of us, but especially for the future. Between 2009 and 2014, the city has approved or appropriated a total of $161 million for school construction, $9.5 million for school maintenance, and $21.3 million for school ADA compliance. This compares with a total of only $14.7 million that was appropriated between 2005 and 2008 for schools' capital needs. That $161 million includes $23.4 million that City Council has already approved for a new Overby Shepherd Elementary School, which will catalyze the emerging New Highland Grove mixed income neighborhood. We've got to stay focused on building quality schools, and we've got to stay focused on building quality community centers. Even with our stepped up investment in schools, today we know that we face school maintenance needs approaching $100 million. And you will be happy to know tonight that I have a plan to address that, and I will bring that plan forward in my budget presentation in just a few short weeks. And the school board said nothing. We will meaningfully fund school maintenance needs in our city. We will simply do that because it must be done. We simply have to do it. Even as we continue to work to make our schools more competitive, we're also investing in major economic development projects that will help nurture our competitive advantage. In Shockoe, we're bringing the train station alive to include a new welcome center and an indoor market. Main Street Station will also serve as a multimodal transportation center, linking Amtrak, Megabus, GRTC, and other forms of transportation. We also have planned investment in riverfront development that's going to connect the river's use to downtown and remove pedestrian barriers to ensure greater access to the greatest asset we have, which is the James River. Gateway Plaza is going up as we speak downtown, and with the expansion of the Panama Canal approaching in 2015, we're investing in Commerce and Deepwater Terminal Road, that area, in anticipation of new job opportunities. Since we revamped the governance structure of the Port of Richmond and leased it to the Virginia Port Authority, it has made great progress. For example, there are 5 barges a week between here and Hampton Roads. That's up from just 2 barges 2 years ago. That's economic development in action. And as a fundamental element of our anti-poverty efforts, we've completed 2 phases of our public housing transformation strategy in Highland Park, and we're working with a highly regarded national developer to initiate redevelopment of Creighton Court and Wickham Court. We are also focused on revitalization projects on Broad Street along that corridor and for the greater downtown arts and cultural district. The latest illustrative example of our progress is the $30 million redevelopment of the former Central Fidelity Bank building. This long neglected, iconic structure will create new commercial energy in our downtown and in turn nurture continued job growth and generate new tax revenues. We are no longer hemorrhaging people, and we are no longer hemorrhaging money. Those days for Richmond are over and they are past. Today, you need to know that Richmond is growing again. Young people are moving into Richmond. They're not moving out of Richmond. Our finances are growing stronger and not weaker. We're one step away from top-tier AAA bond rating on Wall Street. And stronger finances make everything more achievable, whether it's improving city schools or revitalizing a neighborhood. And our strength no longer depends on what happens in the surrounding counties. We're growing strong on our own because all great regions need a strong core city. Richmond has never had momentum like it has right now. But what I know is that unless we seize the momentum, unless we make bold new moves, we will be stuck where we are, and we won't be able to get where all of us want to be. But there is a cost to not taking action. The reality is, as the city grows, so do our expenses. Our public schools, roads, and numerous other services need one thing: simply, they need more money. The best option for us is to expand our tax base and to generate more property taxes and to generate more sales taxes. And that is what Revitalize RVA is all about. The Redskins project was about more than football, and the Chaco plan is about more than baseball. Revitalize RVA is about creating good living wage jobs that people can get to. It's about taking non-revenue producing parcels of land and ensuring that they are strategic revenue generating properties for the city of Richmond. This plan is about investments that will generate new money that we can use for schools and new money that we can use for neighborhoods. Friends, I need for you to know that this is nothing more than good business. We all know that our schools need a lot of help, but it's going to take money. Our neighborhoods along Jeff Davis Highway need sidewalks. Streets in the Fan need street lights. We need more police officers on the street, but it all takes money. And so the question is, where will the money come from? Well, we could generate it by raising the real estate tax rate, but we already pay the highest rate in Central Virginia, and that hits everybody hard, the rich and the poor alike. So that's not a good option. Or we could get more people to shop in Richmond to generate more sales tax revenue. But that's not going to happen because we don't have a general retail store in the city of Richmond north of the James River. We did have that a generation ago when Thalheimer's and Miller and Rhodes anchored downtown, but those days are past, and we haven't had it for a long time. Today, when our citizens go shopping, they pay a sales tax that sends money to Henrico and Chesterfield. The 1% that localities get to keep is left in those counties. That 1% translates into millions that helps the counties enjoy lower real estate taxes, and helps them pay their bills. No other capital city would settle for that, and neither should we. Let's look at this squarely. Our city has the highest tax rate in the area, $1.20 per 1,000. We've also got the highest property rate at 26%, equating to over 50,000 people who are living in poverty. Anything short of bold, intelligent action to address this reality is absolutely unacceptable. We also can't take a half-baked approach to addressing these needs. This is not a time to cut and paste. We need a bold action plan if we're going to realize the full benefit of this pivotal point in our city. Revitalize RVA is a bold plan. It's a jobs and economic development plan. It's a plan designed to generate as much new tax revenue as possible by unlocking the potential of two major undeveloped sites. It takes an underproducing asset in the floodplain and makes it produce. It allows us to get the best use out of valuable real estate on the boulevard in a city where we have very limited land in a strategic location. This plan turns that strategic underutilized land into a high-producing asset. And I want to keep professional baseball in Central Virginia, and we need to do it in a way that clearly means locating the ballpark in Chaco, so we can mitigate the flooding problem affordably while opening the boulevard to full development. The alternative is a course that would leave Chaco behind and fails to create the right conditions for the slavery and freedom heritage site to succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the cost of not acting. That's the cost of delay. And as we look at the next 20 years, let's do so with a vision of leaving nobody behind. Let's do so with a vision of making sure that our plan is a plan to reduce the 26% poverty rate while we are battling that with our Anti-Poverty Commission. A real vision, our vision, considers the state of our schools and the needs of our children. What we have right now is an opportunity to address our problem in either a small way or in a bold way. For me, the choice is clear. We must get the best return on our investment and continue to follow our core principles, principles that have been getting results. It's time to meet these challenges in a big and bold way. This city can be the greatest capital city in the nation. All we have to do is seize the opportunity. We lost a great transformative leader last year, Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in a jail cell on Robben Island. But while he was in the midst of his travail, he became stronger. And when he came out, he became the president of South Africa and dismantled apartheid. Listen to what Mandela says. He says, "Closed doors don't open just by staring at them." We cannot just stare at opportunity and think it's going to happen. We cannot just think that we have good ideas that are going to happen by happenstance. We have got to open the door by taking action, by having the courage to take a risk and go to the next level. I believe mightily in the city of Richmond, so I ask you to join me in revitalizing RVA. Thank you so much for being here tonight and listening to me speak. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.